How daring.
No vales verga, puto play de mierda.
Every last one.
I must leave no stone unturned.
Time to fulfill.
The ancient gods attacking again! There are so many between two! We can't look!
Were you about to say we can't hold them, children?
Huh?
Don't lose heart. Here, take this.
This is depthful energy. That light from your body. It's like the time in Julian Cars. Whoa! It's a magic pink shockwave. This granny's really strong. Starfall!
This should be fun.
You're in for a little shock. Blitz.
My work finished.
Steady as stone.
Yes. This is it. This isn't good. Let's move.
With the blood of the Chilean, I guard you against evil. Cast your fear of injury by the wayside and fight with all your might. I too did this during the Archon War. So this is what Ganya's like in a fight.
My name means swiftness. Take my power and run as I do.
We're going.
A su puta madre. Pinche flash reverso, bien cabrón. Huevos, güey, qué putas.
Body and spirit. Perhaps you can withstand 3 forms of adeptal energy at once.
This will hurt a little. Please bear with us.
Once you've adapted, try to use them in battle.
¡Córrele, pinche flash reverso!
As a dutiful maid would.
My duty. Disgusting.
Exercise caution. I fear that the god's power has reached its peak. In other words, if we hold here, there's nothing worse to come, right?
I guess this is it.
Look at me. Time to clean up.
My work finished.
Surrendering allegiance. Steady as stone. The Fatui's numbers are thinning.
Fight on, comrades! Once we finish this lot off, the Adepti will be able to deal with the god in peace.
The interlopers are no more. Now we may commit ourselves fully.
Tómala, puto, que Megazord, que la chingada, güey.
It's working! We just need to keep this up!
No mames, la pinche Genkidama, güey.
Be careful now.
The Guizhong Ballista is destroyed. Without its covering fire, retaliation shall be difficult.
But the Jade Chamber is our last line of defense. We can't give another inch, no matter what.
I have another idea.
What do you mean, Lady Ningguang?
I'll sacrifice the Jade Chamber. What is the meaning of this?
I understand.
Traveler, lend me a hand. Farewell, old friend. Goodbye for now. Let us meet again in the future.
Se me enchinó el culo, el cuero, la espalda, todo el puto cuerpo. No mames, güey.
Finally over?
The ominous aura of that monster has indeed begun to fade. The effects of the Sigil of Permission last but a short time. It will be some time before the Overlord of the Vortex can make any waves again.
We are indebted to you for your assistance. If the Adepti hadn't happened to be here, the future of Liyue Harbor would surely have been in great... Save your flattery. We didn't just happen to be here. Surely you won't pretend to have forgotten the reason for which we came.
Come now. There's no need for such harsh words, Cloud Retainer. I've heard that when Ningguang began learning to do business, she had already started setting aside part of her then limited income in preparation for building the Jade Chamber. At first, it was only the size of a small room, but with continued expansion, it has become the palace that lies before you now. It is a testament to Ningguang's entire life, both as a businesswoman and as the backbone of the Liyue Qixing. Seeing the Jade Chamber destroyed in the defense of Liyue means much to her. To me, such cooperation and sacrifice deserves at least some recognition, don't you agree?
Well, I was really hoping you would say that such sacrifice could at least be used as some leverage in our negotiations. Thank you all for hearing me out. We know very well why the Adepti came here today. But please forgive us. We cannot yield to your wishes.
Oh?
3,700 years. According to our records, the Adepti signed a contract with Rex Lapis to protect Liyue 3,700 years ago. Even to this very day, Liyue and its lands have stood the test of time, immovable as stone, just as it was thousands of years before. This is truly no small feat. But that does not mean that the Liyue of today is the same city as it was all those years ago. Do not merely cast your protective gaze upon the land. Instead, focus your sights on our city and each of the citizens that dwell within it.
Are you questioning our means of protecting Liyue?
I mean no offense. I simply hope that our Adepti forebears would see Liyue in a new light.
Forebears, you say? One doubts you would be fit to be part of such a lineage.
This morning, Rex Lapis appeared to me in a dream.
What?
In the dream, I yearned to tell him that we Qixing, though mortal, are equally bound to the contract. Each passing generation of the Qixing leaves many things of value to be inherited by the next generation. I also thought to tell him how the past generations of Qixing had strove under his rule to survive in our mortal world, establishing a network of contracts which has since come to be known as trade. But I dared not speak. I could only gaze at him in silence until the moment I awoke.
Oh, Ningguang.
Yet another perspective. What are you trying to say, Outlander?
Right! That's something that happened in Mondstadt. It's a story about the Four Winds and the people of the Animal Archon. The Animal Archon sought to quell the strife between the two sides, because he believed that such conflict would only scar the hearts of both, and that nothing good would come of it.
Each of the 7 nations has its own scars from the past.
Though your point is the very height of simplicity. As Adepti, we've become a laughingstock, to be chastised thus by an outlander who has lent us such succor.
All right, all right. Didn't Ningguang suggest that we should focus on the city and each of its citizens? I know I already have, so why not see for yourselves?
I apologize for appearing in full armor. I am afraid I cannot show the proper courtesies.
And who are you?
I am Feng Yan, a sergeant of the Millelith. I have come to extend my thanks to the Adepti. I thought this battle would perhaps be my last. But thanks to the aid of the Adepti, our forces were not as badly battered as I feared we might be. Although I am a mere mortal soldier, I promise to hold the line and never betray the grace given to us by the illuminated Adepti this day.
Ándale, putos.
Huh? Why does everyone look so down? Didn't we just beat that big monster?
Weren't you frightened, dear? It was quite the predicament.
I wasn't afraid. All the strong Millelith guards were there, and those powerful heroes with their visions were there. Everyone was there. When danger is near, everyone always protects me. And the rest of the time, they make fun toys and tasty snacks and loads of things that make the harbor so pretty. Thanks for protecting Liyue Harbor. Please come visit us for the next lantern rite.
Unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to participate.
Huh?
Because we are Adepti.
Okay. It must be hard being an Adeptus.
You see, this is what Liyue is like today. The country of contracts is grateful to the Adepti for their protection. But it is no longer necessary for the city to rely on the Adepti's power to solve every little niggling matter. Although their blood is weak, there is still strength to be found in those we call mortals. The time between gods and Liyue has long since passed. Now is the time of contracts between Liyue and its people.
Seeing the port around us now, it is hard not to feel a bit out of place. Wouldn't you say so, Cloud Retainer?
Your line of inquiry is askew. One did not spearhead this expedition to Liyue Harbor.
Seems like the Adepti have had a change of heart.
Let us return now.
Eager to leave, Conqueror of Demons.
Yes, one understands what the Conqueror of Demons means. The city of Liyue has changed much after our long separation. One fears that by the time one finally grasps the new contracts of Liyue, you humans would have once again changed the place beyond recognition. Fair enough. Away we shall, and return whence we came.
Since we Adepti have consensus, then one shall persist no further. But how will we ensure that the Liyue Qixing will not simply exploit their power once we depart? In my view, that is still a thing to be guarded against.
All right, Mooncarver, you needn't worry. It seems to me that this right of supervision is best left to the people of Liyue.
Looks like the conflict between humans and Adepti was avoided. All's well that ends well, huh? Oh, right! It's nice that we've got peace and all, but we're forgetting one thing. Child wanted to unleash the god so he could lure Rex Lapis out. But we were able to handle the Overlord of the Vortex on our own, so Rex Lapis never showed up. Oh, and speaking of that, don't we still need to get to the bottom of that Archon's death, too? Hyman doesn't get it. But isn't the strongest lead we have the Adepti-less rite of parting that we're organizing? No idea where Zhongli's gone. Let's ask for him at Wangshan Funeral Parlor.
No me digas que es ese pendejo, güey. Hijo de la virga, güey. Bótate a la virga, pinche juego virguero, güey.
A reward on the road.
Puta obra maestra, güey. Sí, va a ser ese pendejo, sí va a ser. No mames, sí es, güey. Después de todas las pistas es ese pendejo. Güey, qué cabrón, Qué cabrón. Qué cabrón, qué bastardos. Buenísimo giro, buenísimo. Qué buen giro, cabrón.
Is there anything I can do for you two? I'm afraid that Wangshan...
We've come to see Zhongli. Could you please tell him where he...
Unfortunately, Zhongli isn't here at the moment. It seems he...
Doesn't the Northland Bank belong to the Fatui? Last time we saw Zhongli was before we went to... Do you think he doesn't know about the attack on Liyue? Visiting the Fatui at a time... We had better go and make sure that everything is okay.
Qué cabrón, estuvo buenísima, güey. ¿Está abajo? No, que mis huevos, que está abajo.
You call this cooperation between Harbingers? Cooperation involves communication, you know.
Don't take it to heart, child. Besides, aren't you happy that you got to skip the formalities and bring chaos to the land? I'm sure you must have enjoyed that. Oh, it seems that some of your friends have arrived.
Ah, cabrón.
It's Zhongli and Child. And... you!
It's you two. I believe we've met once before. In the city of Bards, was it? I'm glad you still remember my name. Ah, Right. I imagine that it must have been rather hard to forget watching helplessly as something precious was snatched away.
No, don't let her get to you! You've yet to gather the powers of all 7 elements, and our last battle at the Golden House was almost more than you could handle. So it might be best to keep things peaceful this time, seeing that 2 of the Harbingers are here.
Well, if it isn't you two. This is our first time seeing each other since Liyue was nearly wiped off the map. This is certainly a bit awkward, wouldn't you say?
Paimon knew that we should never have trusted a Fatui Harb.
Oh, now don't say that. Sure, I may have misled you, but I never had... Besides, I thought we were getting along quite well together, didn't you? Nothing personal. We just have different views, that's all. Of course, you may very well hold this against me, but the real deceivers here are Senora and Zhongli. Curse them for leading me on. So actually, I think...
Stop wasting time, child. There'll be plenty of time to chat once I'm through here. You remember the agreement, Morax. Now, if you would be so kind. The Gnosis...
What in the world are you talking about?
The contract is fulfilled. That which thou seeketh is now bestowed unto thee.
Just gonna be one. A huevo.
What? So you're the Lord Chia?
A huevo. No mames,
Wait,
después de tantas putas
that's an
pistas
exciting twist and all, but why give the Gnosis to the Fatui?
I do not give it for free. I give it as agreed upon in the contract. For it is a matter solely between the Tsaritsa and I.
Yeah, you don't think you went a little bit too far with that whole fake death thing? Everyone was preparing the ceremony for you, and splat! This big dragon falls out of the sky, and all of Liyue goes into an uproar. Talk about a disaster.
Gathering all the forces that had been bubbling behind the scenes, and then stirring them together in a pot that was bound to boil over. That's what he wanted to see. Am I right?
Wait, what?
Perhaps it's best that I explain. As you know, I've dwelt upon this world for more than 6,000 years. It is now 3,700 years ago that I founded Liyue, together with the Adepti. Even boulders that can withstand whirlpools will erode with the passing of time. I kept convincing myself that cracks had not begun to form, and that the end of my time had not yet come, until one drizzly day, as I was strolling along the harbor, I heard a merchant tell one of his workers, "You finished your duties. Go ahead and call it a day." I stood motionless among the crowds, asking myself, have I already finished my duties?
Oh, Zhongli.
But as I began to consider relinquishing my divine role, I soon discovered that many reasons still remained to not hastily depart. Was Liyue, the city I had dwelt in for so long, already prepared to enter its next age? I decided that a test was needed in order to reveal the answer. So I feigned my own death, and gathered the cast of Child, the Adepti, and the Liyue Chising to play their roles together on the stage that was Liyue. That's right, which is why I continued to safeguard the Gnosis until now.
So you mean that if the chaos ever reached the point of no return, you would simply appear and use your divine powers to bring Liyue back?
Of course. And it would have been all too easy for him, too. Just as a child quickly matures after losing their parents, so has Liyue matured when faced with the death of its deity.
In the end, the resolution to all that has transpired was even more satisfactory than I could have hoped for. Take the Adepti, for instance. Owing to their years of seclusion, they were the least informed. Yet when faced with a crisis, they commendably showed the greatest amount of restraint possible. Not only did they manage to cooperate with the Qixing, but in the end, they even made efforts to understand the hearts of the people. Credit is also due to Signora, the emissary dispatched by the Cryo Archon to fulfill our contract. At my request, she kept everything she knew in strict confidence. This despite the eavesdropping ears of her colleague, Child. This meant I could remain as Zhongli, even having the chance to fulfill the age-old traditions of Liyue in this mortal form. Thank you for joining me on this journey, Traveler. All of these things turned out as I had planned. There is only one thing that I had not anticipated, and that was the conduct of the Liyue Qixing. I had expected them to do no more than the Adepti, to come to the defense of Liyue. But when all was said and done, they seized the opportunity to supplant Liyue as divine protectors, and used the subsequent power vacuum left by my death to quickly gain complete control of Liyue.
Huh? That doesn't sound good at all!
On the contrary, I think it is excellent. I had always feared that it was too soon for them to take over from me. And it was also that which I longed for the most. As such, this is the best parting gift anyone could have given this god of old.
Hey, what about me? Doesn't anyone feel the least bit of remorse for deceiving me? You've practically kept me in the dark.
I think that thanks would be more appropriate. You certainly played no small part in all of this, wreaking havoc and turning the city upside down. The Lord of Geo ought to thank you for your performance, if anything. If you hadn't created the pressure of a battle between mortals, Adepti, and a god, the lump of coal resting in the hands of the Geo Archon, Liyue, would never have been able to become a dazzling diamond of a city.
Huh? Just whose side are you on, mocking me like that? Are you itching for a fight? Be that as it may, you've come out of this as the hero of Liyue. I, on the other hand, will be forever prescribed as a disturber of the peace, no?
Well then, with the Gnosis in my possession, I have no use for such idle chatter. We should return to Zapoljarny Palace and seek an audience with Her Majesty, the Tsaritsa. Come, child.
Fine. I'll meet you there later. I'm not sharing a boat with the likes of you.
Do as you wish.
Now then, is there anything else you wish to ask me?
Right! As Zhongli always told us, a good trade is a fair trade. Paimon has no idea what could be a good trade for a Gnosis.
Realistically speaking, there is no such thing.
Huh?
However, I am the god of contracts. For thousands of years, I have made countless contracts. If the deal was of no benefit, then I certainly would not be inclined to agree to it. My agreement with the Cryo Archon will be the last of my contracts as the Geo Archon. My contract to end all contracts. As for the bargaining chip that the Tsaritsa used to balance the scales, uncover that answer for yourself in your future journeys.
Sí, qué perros, güey. Este puto juego va bien cabrón, va bien cabrón. Lleva un año, creo que apenas llevan... Van 3, son 7.
Today's the day of the rite of parting. Although the star of the show is fake, we've spent so much time trying to organize it, it would be a real shame not to go there now.
Well, since we're going through with this rite of...
So Rex Lapis is really...
Oh, come on. Do you think that the assassin could have been a normal person? You know what I think? There's only one real possibility in my mind. I've heard that the assassin was that Fatui fellow. Young...
Fatui? They certainly...
Shh! Lower your voice. If the Fatui catch you in their sights, Rex...
You know that god from the ocean couldn't have just shown up out of nowhere. I mean, it's been 2,000 years.
Yes, and to think that this happened right on the heels of the incident...
Say, do you think the person who assassinated our lord and...
Now that you mention it, that's very possible. I mean, it all fits together. That person must have colluded with the evil god to harm Rex Lapis. Still, what sort of supernatural prowess must this person possess to be able...
Ah, forget it. Guessing's no use to us. Look, the Millilith over there looks like he's about to make an...
Hear ye all! The Qixing's words. Though a dragon soars ageless as the mountains, it too must return to dust. This is common knowledge. Gods and Adepti live glorious lives, but both light and shadow have their season. So too must they face divinely appointed trials. Rumors and hearsay abound on the streets that Rex Lapis would, having been thwarted in his trial. Rex Lapis's soul has recouped the celestial heights. He beseeches, nor are they to believe street-born rumors or indulge in baseless speculation.
Paimon needs a translation on what the Qixing's announcement said. So that's how they're spinning it. Something feels off. Why would they suddenly give up looking for the murderer? Could the Qixing already have known that Rex Lapis wasn't dead? But Zhongli said that Did Zhongli tell them in secret after his gnosis changed hands? Exactly, right? Ooh, seems like the rite of parting has been Look, it's Ningguang and Keqing. Are they saying something?
As said previously, Rex Lapis's soul returning to the heavens is the end of the contract.
3,700 years of contracts burnt and reduced to ash.
We, the people of Liyue, were indeed prosperous. But blinded by our prosperity, we forgot that time can be pitiless.
The long, unending dream of our Archon walking among us.
Now that we have awoken from our dream, we must learn to say farewell. Will you stand with us as we re-establish our contracts? As we build a new age of prosperity?
So concludes the words of Her Eminence the Tianquan. Does Her Eminence the Yuheng have anything to add?
Huh? Is she looking this way?
Traveler.
Yikes! She really is looking our way!
Is that the traveler who they say defeated the ancient god?
So young.
No mami.
The Liyue Qixing always repay their debts. And as you have heard, our eyes see far and our reach is long. Name your price. You deserve that much.
Whoa.
$5 del Genshin Impact, güey. 10 gachapones, por favor.
Wow, could you help me put up some missing person posters?
Vaya, hasta que habló.
And to think I'd put... But it seems as if those perfumes really... Well, that's fine. Suffer no rivals.
As for the mortals and Adepti of Liyue, what shape shall...
Rex Lapis. Oh, Rex Lapis. Perhaps mementos for Rex Lapis might be...
Ah, aquí están todas las cosas. Qué bonito, güey. Qué bonito, güey. Esos putos detalles son una puta verga. Espero que hable, no mames.
Hey, Zhongli! Look at this. Everyone in Liyue is caught up in their emotions, thinking that they'll never see Rex Lapis again. And here you are looking all relaxed.
Why would I not feel more at ease after laying down the burden I have borne for 3,700 years? Right. If the two of you can spare the time, I should treat you to a meal at the Shinya kiosk.
That sounds like big talk, Zhongli. Paimon might have believed you if you were treating us to some third-round knockout, but you'd have to pay out your nose just to stand inside Shinya kiosk. Are you sure you can afford it?
You're right. I do like the Mora.
But why would Morax lack Mora?
As the Rex Lapis Morax, I can easily create Mora. But since I have chosen to walk this earth as the mortal Zhongli, I should abide by the same rules that mortals do. When I was journeying with you, though I still had the Gnosis in hand, I knew that I must soon retire from my role as an Archon. So I had to rehearse a little for my new life.
Oh, no wonder! Paimon gets it now. You didn't look at the price tags when we were spending because you've never had to. But since you weren't used to not being able to just make more Mora as and when you wanted to, you...
Well, we were only spending Fatui money. You don't have to say it like that. In the City of Commerce, we do not merely exchange money or goods. We also exchange knowledge, memories, and foresight, as well as positions, roles, and lives. The Archon Morax could never experience life as the true mortal Zhongli could, no matter how many times he descended to be with his people. I must thank you for that. I will treasure the memories that I made as Zhongli, traveling the streets of Liyue with you. That is true. But there is no journey that does not end. No meetings without partings.
Paimon thinks that we should make a move and continue our search for the Seven.
I fear that continuing your journey may be difficult. The nation that neighbors Liyue by sea, Inazuma, is presently closed. Yes, the nation has been closed by order of its deity, the Electro-Archon Ball. And just as the people of Liyue preferred to call me Rex Lapis, she too goes by another name among locals in Inazuma.
Paimon thinks we've heard that one before.
Shogun Raiden?
Raiden?
Ah, con razón.
That is the case. And since Raiden is also the Shogun of Inazuma, people call her the Raiden Shogun.
That said, though people at the wharf were saying that the situation in Inazuma is very tense, Paimon doesn't remember that always being the case. It wasn't that bad last year. Zhongli, since you're Rex Lapis, shouldn't you know something about what's happening there? Just how did Inazuma become a closed nation?
It's because of visions.
Visions?
When faced with circumstances beyond their control, humans often bemoan their lack of power. But if a person shows true strength of will at a desperate and fateful moment in their life, the gods will look upon them with favor. This is what visions are. Magical foci bestowed upon those who have been acknowledged by the gods.
Uh-huh. That's how people in Teyvat see it.
But starting from last year, the Raiden Shogun began promulgating the Vision Hunt Decree.
Vision Hunt Decree?
Yes. It was an order to seize all visions within Inazuma's borders, and to inlay them upon the hands of the statue of the omnipresent god.
They want to seize visions. But why? Aren't visions blessings from the gods?
I should think that in the Raiden Shogun's eyes, it is precisely because they are divine blessings that they should be under the sole dominion of divinity.
Whoa, that's harsh.
The Anemo Archon is the god of freedom. Archon is the god of contracts. For her part, the Raiden Shogun is the god of eternity. It seems as though she has finally decided to eliminate any unstable elements that could pose a threat to her eternal realm. The fact that even I, the oldest of the seven, have now passed away will only strengthen her resolve to pursue eternity. Knowing her, she must have again quoted that adage she is most fond of when proclaiming that decree to her people.
Esa pinche Shogun Raiden yo sí la querí, pero pinches putos nunca me la dieron.
And of these, eternity
Está muy
is
potente la
nearest
hija
unto
de
the
perra.
heavenly principles. All right then. Was there anything else you wish to know? Ah, that was a good one. Failing that said, the reason why the Qixing were so eager to resolve the incident and stop pursuing the culprit was indeed... I hinted as much to the Adepti as well. How did I accomplish that, you ask? Have you ever heard of this particularly convenient Adepti art known as gifting dreams and vision? All right then. Was there anything else you wish to know?
Yeah, about that. Before the Qixing made their announcement, we listened to a lot of people talking on the way. Most of them put the blame for everything on Child.
These are indeed false accusations. But it remains undeniably true that Child did send people to the Jade Chamber to prevent the Adepti and the Qixing from defeating the ancient god. I've heard that Ningguang is busy milking that for all it's worth on the foreign relations front at the moment, browbeating the envoys of the Fatui. Ha! Those poor Snezhnayan diplomats. If it were not for Child's exalted position as a harbinger, I'm certain that they would have shifted all the blame to him and called for his dismissal by now. All right then. Was there anything else you wish to know? The time of the Adepti has long passed. If even the Liyue Qixing don't want to face that truth. Kuching is absolutely right in saying this. Now, though I did laud Ningguang's desire for power, believing this to be a good thing, and thought as a matter of course that she must have been behind, could the original person who brought up the idea of seizing power have been... All right then. Was there anything else?
That's right. Zhongli, now that you don't have your gnosis, what's going to happen to all the Mora in Teyvat? Since Morax is dead, are they all just gonna disappear? Also, isn't the Golden House the only mint in the entire continent?
The Mora present now will not vanish. But the Golden House will indeed have to cease operations for a lengthy period of time, since creating Mora requires the use of the Geo-Archon's power.
This is terrible! We're all about to run out of Mora! The world is coming to an end!
Yes, this is indeed a major issue from a financial standpoint. Well, I suppose we'll just leave such troublesome matters to the Liyue Qixing to debate.
Then, did you at least set some private funds aside for yourself?
Oh, a private fund. This does... It's a shame.
What's a shame?
It's a shame that I didn't think of it at the time. All right then. Was there anything else you wished to... Well then, I suppose you'll have to find a way to get inside this closed nation. Have patience. I suspect that some serendipity must first come into play.
Verga, Master. Continuará. Quería ya pasar esto porque se vienen eventos, un chingo de mamadas. Pues quería tener este pedo, ¿no? Ya hecho. ¿Qué es esto? Güey, ya son las putas 4. El puto celular. Huevos, ya son las 4, cabrón.
Children, come, come. You've arrived at just the right moment. I've been looking for you.
Oh, what is it, Granny? Need any help?
Oh, no. You've done so much for Liyue Harbor already. I could hardly ask for more. In fact, my old friends and I have been putting our heads together to think of what sort of gift we might give you in return.
A gift? For Paimon?
Oh, child, you are so very modest. Uncommonly so, even. But you mustn't decline this gift. I simply won't allow it. When you traversed my old teapot in search of the cleansing bell, I heard your little friend mention that you often camp out in the wilds. That simply won't do. Especially since I imagine you still have a very long journey ahead of you.
Estos pinches detallitos se le olvidan a un putero de pinches desarrolladoras, cabrón. Son simples conversaciones, pero cabrón, a uno se le quedan muy bien guardadas, carajo.
Fortunately, I have not yet grown so old as to see my subspace creation abilities atrophy. Oh, did my friends never mention that to you? Well then, it is a blessing we old folks once received from Rex Lapis, part of our illumination, if you will. I will not go into too much detail, but subspace creation is the ability to create a small, autonomous pocket world. The teapot that you entered previously was a little trinket created using...
So, in the eyes of an adeptus, creating a magic teapot world is just child's play, huh?
Oh, indeed, the teapot is nothing to boast of. One such as myself must depart from this realm to create a world of one's own. Rex Lapis, on the other hand, moved mountains and seas. That is what one might call an exercise of true power. But that's enough nostalgia for now. The gift that I have prepared for you just...
That's right! Finding stuff's what we're good at, after all.
Oh, settle down now, children. There's no need for you to go running hither and thither. What's more, I doubt that you would know how to find the materials. Well, for starters, I require some shimmer soil from the banks of Dihua Marsh. You would have to dig downward, following the roots of the glazed lilies, but almost no one has been able to find shimmer soil in this manner since Dihua Marsh came to be even more difficult to find as smaragdus jadeite, which must be chiseled from the rock of the chasm. Or so it used to be. Ever since the Blackcliff Forge opened for business, they've slowly but surely stripped the mines all but complete. In any case, Smaragdus Jadeite is an Adepti treasure, and the Adeptal power within is not something that most humans can withstand. Extended contact. Goodness knows if that child will succeed in finding these items.
Well, since you're an Adeptus, Granny, the person you asked for help...
Yes.
She counts? How come there are so many Adepti in Liyue Harbor? We seem to bump into them all the time. It feels like...
Oh, maybe so. Who can say? A fair few of my old friends are rather fond of mundane mortal.
I'm back, Granny. Oh, I don't believe we've met.
Allow me to do the honors. This child here is Yen Fei. She's Yen Fei. I believe you've already heard of the Traveler and her traveling companion.
Of course, who hasn't? Much has been written about you in the Millilith's records. You became one of Liyue's most wanted after the Millilith marked you as a suspect following the incident at the Rite of Dissension. After which, you fought off the Millilith at Julian Karst and make before finally defeating an ancient god together with Granny and her associates, and subsequently being cleared of any and all suspicion by the Chiseng. A shame that we didn't meet sooner. If we had, well, I can't say that I would have been able to clear you of suspicion immediately, but it certainly would have been less, embarrassing for you. Allow me to introduce myself once more. I'm Yen Fei, a legal advisor. Got a legal problem? You can come right to me. Oh, yes, here's my business card. You'll find it has my contact details and office address. Keep it handy. If you have an urgent issue, just leave me a note at this address. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, I offer a very generous discount for first-time customers.
All right, Yen Fei, all right. Let's get to the business at hand. I do not think these two are in any dire need of legal assistance at the moment. You'll have to excuse Yen Fei. She's always been like this, ever the talkative one when it comes to her own affairs.
Paimon was gonna ask the same question. You seem really different from the ones we've met before.
An Adeptus? I guess, kinda. My old man said he was one anyway. He mentioned that he once campaigned with Rex Lapis for a long old time, and then after that was all over, he went back and married my mom. They had me, and once I was all grown up, the two of them upped and left on a journey, leaving me with Granny here.
Well, that's a bit casual for an Adeptus. Aren't you guys supposed to sign solemn contracts to protect Liyue Harbor and all that stuff?
Well, my dad did say that he'd talked it through with Rex Lapis, and that he was fine with it. Even contributed towards the wedding gift, apparently. Anyway, let's not dwell on that too much. So, Granny, I've gotten a hold of most of the stuff you asked for, except for Smaragdus Jadeite. I couldn't find any at all. The chasm's been sealed off, and there's just no way in. Couldn't secure any documentation either. Looks like the Ministry of Civil Affairs is serious about keeping it strictly locked down.
Is that so? But Yen Fei, are you sure you can't find some other way? They have helped
I know, Granny, you've told me 1,000 times already. Well, the chasm's definitely a no-go, but there's still a chance we can figure out... Hold on a...
Whoa, that's a really thick book. What kind of things do you write in there?
Commercial consultancy. Or... Snezhnaya? Found him. Krusel. A Snezhnayan merchant who once came to me with some legal queries on certain articles in the legal codices. If my memory serves, all of them had to do with... He mentioned that he was considering acquiring some Smaragdus Jadeite to make hairpins, and wanted to know if there were any legal ramifications that he should be aware of. Said he was planning to sell them in Snezhnaya. So, I guess I'll go look for him. With any luck, he'll have gotten his hands on... Oh, you want to join me? I suppose that's no problem, but it's best if you just stand by and watch. If you try to get...
Wow, an Adeptus imploring us to avoid incurring legal liability. Best we be a little more careful than usual while we're with her.
No empiezan los pinches vergazos. Es una pinche secundaria. Todos han de aprender de CD Projekt Red. Eso sí, cabrón. Todas las miradas están puestas de mala manera en ellos, pero cabrón, o sea. Hicieron algo legendario con The Witcher, cabrón. Incluso con Cyberpunk, o sea. Secundarias que parecen más que principales. O sea, eso está... es otro puto level, güey. Ay, cabrón, no veo. Ay, ese pendejo. Ay, tú no eres pendejo. No. Bueno, esto es otro pedo. Qué imbécil, güey. Qué imbécil se me fue el pedo. Son secundarias esas. No me digas que es ese puto chamaco. Ah, no. ¿O es este pendejo? Es este güey.
Hello, Mr. Crossell. How's business been?
Oh, good, very good. All thanks to your advice, Miss Yanfei. What brings you here today?
You're too kind. I was simply doing my job. Now, I believe that the last time we met, you mentioned that you were looking to source some Smaragdus Jadeite to make hairpins. Have there been any further developments on this front?
Well, yes. As a matter of fact, in the end, I did acquire a small piece of Smaragdus Jadeite and had it fashioned into a pair of hairpins. Miss Yanfei, might I presume that you have an interest in the hairpins? I must apologize. I've already rented them out to a lady named Chiao. If you'd like to inspect...
Wait! Isn't Smaragdus Jadeite really rare? Aren't you worried about the hairpins getting damaged or lost while they're being rented out?
No, I'm not worried in the slightest, because I signed a contract with Miss Chiao before renting them to her. The contract makes it quite clear that if she loses or damages the item in question, she must compensate. In return, I included a clause that guarantees the Smaragdus Jadeite is genuine, with a penalty of 10 times the item's value payable by me to Miss
Guaranteed genuine? With 10 times the value payable if this claim is shown to be...
Of course. This way, both the client and I have the assurance we need to ensure fairness.
In that case, might you know where Miss Chow lives? We'd like to pay her a visit.
Oh, of course. She wrote her address down when we...
Thanks a lot, Mr. Crossell. We'll be off now.
I should open a store.
Ivanovic. Traveler. Oh, esa pinche Shang. A ver, pendeja. ¿Y qué, se la doy? Ah, huevo. Primero los perrillos. A la verga, la pinche tetera. Ya estoy haciendo la misión, culis. Permanente, pues sí, cabrón. Imagínate, güey. Que fuera de evento limitado. No mames, es un puto gachapón o algo así, güey. Es una puta mecánica ya. Huevos, este es puto, güey. No mames, todavía no tengo ni para 2 putas tiradas, cabrón. 13 horas, güey. Bótate la verga, güey. Ya se va a actualizar tarde. $9 días. Ay, cabrón, pendejo. No mames. Dame unas pinches protogemas. Mamás, ¿qué, mija? Bueno, mínimo que nos dieron varias. Pinche Shogun Raiden, neta está bien pasada de riata y no la puedo conseguir, hijo de su puta madre. No, sí está bien pinche hardcore. Ese puto está allá arriba, güey. Ah, pues tengo que pasar por allá, güey. Ah, pues ahí está este perro. Ah, pues es la de los pinches libros. Cámara. Me lo chingo y me lo quedo.
Oh, whatever shall I do? Yes, that's me. Is there something I...
How do you do, Monsieur Chow? We understand from Mr. My associates and I are very interested in them. Would you mind...
The hairpins. I don't know how it could have happened. I always kept them right by my side, and I spent so much money on them. If I have to pay their original value, there's no way I could come... My family is in the ore business too, but business has been suffering. We now have a backlog of paid-up orders just sitting around, so we've been having to purchase some stock from other ore merchants to complete them. A big banquet is coming up in a few days, and several ore merchants I know of will be there. I need this opportunity to mingle. That's what the hairpins were for, well, to keep up appearances, but now that I've lost the hairpins...
Why does Paimon have a sudden strong sense of déjà vu?
Did you really? I sent a commission to the Adventurers Guild, but I haven't heard any...
Hold on. Don't run off looking for the hairpins just yet. Monsieur Chow, would...
Huh? Well, I mean, sure, I have...
Let me see.
That's right! Yanfei said she's a legal advisor, didn't she? Maybe she can help Jichao somehow. True. Though surely there must be a win-win.
Right. I finished reading the contract. The terms are very clear, and they do indeed stipulate that you must pay Mr. Crosssilk. Furthermore, the contract also expressly states that the amount of compensation must take current market price, and given the rarity of Smaragdus Jadeite, I fear that the final amount of compensation...
Even higher?
No. Uh-oh. Jichao looks like she...
However, All of this is assuming that it is indeed genuine Smaragdus jadeite that was inlaid into the...
Did you really have to pause before saying that part? Anyway, the hairpins are lost, so how exactly would we be able to find out if... Whichever way you look at it, we've got to start by finding those hair...
Except that if we found the hairpins, there'd no longer be any need to check...
Please. Please, Don't trouble yourselves over this. However much it is, I will have to pay it. My family are merchants, after all. It's vital that we keep our word and respect our contract. Now that it's come to this, I really shouldn't keep Crossel in the dark any longer.
Yes, legally speaking, it seems this is the most sensible course of action. But before that, I have some questions about the hairpins. So hold on a moment, Mr. Chow. When you first touched the hairpins, what did you feel?
What did I feel? Well, I remember that the gemstones set into the pins were perfectly smooth to the touch, like the finest... My family has seen much jade pass through its hands in the past, so...
Smooth to the touch. Finest quality jade. No, it's nothing. I just need to re-examine a few things.
Ah, Miss Yanfei, you've returned. With Miss Jiqiao in tow, too, I see.
About that.
You lost them? Are you serious?
I'm sorry. Truly I am.
Mora! Do you have any idea what I had to go through to get my hand... I just don't... Forget it. Talking won't bring them back. Since Miss Yanfei is here, I suppose we can just have her...
No problem. But before I can give an official estimate, I'll need to do a little market research. Ah, yes. And if I may... It was in fact genuine Smaragdus jadeite inlaid into the hairpins, correct?
Of course. Genuine article guaranteed, or I...
All right, understood. I'll conduct some market research, and once I'm back, I'll provide an official assessment of the sum owed by Miss...
Thank you very much. How could she lose my hairpins? She'd better pay...
Looks like I'll have to find some way to raise that money.
Please wait, Mr. Chow. I have something to discuss. It's not convenient to speak here, so let's find somewhere that we can sit and talk in more detail.
Ah, pinches abogators de mierda.
Miss Yanfei, what is this about? Are you...
No. What I wanted to talk about is, there is a chance that the ore inlaid on those hairpins may not be Smaragdus.
What do you mean? Are you implying that you already sneaked off and found them?
Obviously not. I'm no adventurer, let alone a member of the guild. I don't run thankless, time-consuming errands. I don't know if Granny told you this, but Smaragdus jadeite is found deep underground and contains very concentrated... If mere mortals come into contact with it, well, they'll be sick in the best case. And in the worst case, they could even experience a dramatic change of personality. And most certain, Mr. Chow, did you at any time feel unwell while the hairpins were in your...
No, not at all. I felt perfectly fine the whole time. Not even the slightest...
Now that is strange. I noticed earlier that there were elemental traces in Mr. Crossel's vicinity. If I've deduced correctly, he may still have the Smaragdus jadeite in his possession.
If that's the case, we should go confront him right now and expose...
Absolutely not. If we were to confront him now, there's no way he would admit to it. Eventually, and then he'd throw the Smaragdus jadeite into the sea the moment we were gone. After that, he would simply insist that Mr. Chow pay up per the contract. Meanwhile, we would have to look under every stone in Liyue, hoping and praying that the hairpins do actually still exist.
So vivid that Paimon thinks it might be experience talking.
Oh, it certainly is. I've seen my fair share of situations like this, and brute force methods are certainly one way of resolving them.
Well then, Since you're so experienced in dealing...
Oh, that won't be a problem. But first, Mr. Chow, can I ask you to...
Huh? Does there have to be a contract for everything? Paimon can't even keep track. It feels like Yanfei is even more concerned with them than a certain someone else we know.
These are my formal terms of engagement. Everything prior to now has just been pro bono advice. But for me to investigate any further, I require a written contract. Any work commissioned but not bound by a contract cannot be relied upon.
I understand. Then I will be glad to place this matter into your capable hands.
No problem. Just sign here, and I'll sign too. Okay. Now, right, and I'll also need your signatures on pages 5, 7, and on the very last page. Finally, if you could just use this ink pad to make a handprint over here.
This contract has so many pages.
All right, that should do it. My fees are the same as always, and they're written in the contract. Have a look through and let me know if you have any questions.
I've had a read through. Everything checked.
Well then, here's your copy of the contract. I will retain the other copy. Not for now, no. Despite how intractable this problem might sound, I don't believe you have been part of an investigation like this before, in which...
Miss Yunfei,
Qué pinche asco.
why are you helping me?
Because, as it happens, I'm currently trying to acquire some Smaragdus Jadeite myself. I noticed strong traces of geo-energy around Mr. Crossel, so perhaps whether he actually made it into an item of jewelry or not is a separate matter. But either way, it's a lead. As long as also, the idea of someone abusing the law to their advantage, I won't stand. But again, let's not dwell on this. Let's go to... Where can we find... Ah, I've got it. Let's pay a visit to Chateau, the boss of the Jade Mystery. If Mr. Crossel had his ore worked on at all, Chateau would undoubtedly have been...
Este puto que vende... Ah, esta está allá, güey. Ay, güey, perdón, que con este pendejo de los putos chilis. No mames, esto no se le regenera el puto chile. No, nada.
Why, hello there, honored customers. Welcome to... Surely not more spurious claims.
No, nothing of the sort. Has a Snezhnine merchant named Crossel enlisted your ore processing services recently by any chance?
A Snezhnine merchant named... I do remember that. He brought... That was the first time I'd ever encountered it, so I had no way of telling if it was really Smaragdus Jadeite or not. But if a customer... And he was quite generous with his money, too, so I didn't give it too much thought. I processed the ore as per his request.
Do you have an...
Why, yes. It was my first time encountering this ore, after all, so I kept a...
Thank you, sir. We'll take a look at them.
If my eyes don't deceive me, cross-sections and patterning suggest that, yes, it's not particularly rare, nor is it especially valuable. It's used... I've heard it said that Smaragdus nephrite is in fact the outer layer of Smaragdus Jadeite, though no one...
A thin layer of separation, huh?
If you must see for yourself, try examining these shavings for traces of elemental energy. Smaragdus nephrite is an entire...
Is that so? Well, we might as well give elemental sight. So, did you find anything?
Ok, entonces ese pendejo es elemental. Oh, qué chingados.
So they really are different. But wait, how come Chichao is able to...
There's nothing special to it. It just so happens that I've come across a great many of these in my time. These two stones actually look very similar. Someone without a deep understanding of them would find it very difficult. There may be only a subtle difference for the casual viewer, but that translates to an astronomical difference in terms of the market price, and, I'm sure, a significant difference in the cost of having them carved into
All right, let's focus up. We're going off on a tangent.
But never mind, Shirto. Why would...
Unusual actions have unusual reasons behind them. Let's take...
No sé qué va a suceder,
Miss
señor.
Yenfei?
If you could just confirm for me once more, sir. Mr. Crossell did indeed claim that the
Yes, that's right. I still have a record of the job with
Esto ya
me,
parece un
in
puto
fact.
episodio
Here, it says quite
de Switch,
clearly,
pero qué
one
pinche
chunk
aburrido,
Smaragdus
cabrón. Por eso ya
jadeite,
no veo esa mierda.
Then I have no further questions. But could I borrow the processing record and these stone shavings?
Of course.
Oh, I have my reasons. Yes. This document shall serve as signed proof that these stone shavings originated from the...
Yes, I see.
I wouldn't say there's been an incident, just a minor issue.
Is this hard evidence to back us up?
On the contrary, this is far from sufficient to build a case. We need to find something a little
Hijos de su puta madre, ya la verga, güey.
Let me think. Jewelry. Aha! Got it! Sinxie. She often helps people to find a jewelsmith.
Well, that was quick. How can you know so many?
Because lots of people come to me for legal advice. As you know, Liyue Harbor is the city of contracts. And contracts, well, but the amendments made by the Tianquan to our laws, as such, legal advisors like myself provide quite the popular service.
So you help them make sense of the law. But didn't you say that it's hard to understand and impossible?
Yes, well, that's no obstacle, because I've memorized all the legal codices.
You memorized them?
You sound surprised. Knowing the law inside out is a legal advisor's bread and butter, you know? Oh, this has nothing to do with being an adeptus. I just like reading things.
Again, with that casual...
Well, that's that then. Let's go look for Sing.
Mames. Ay. Estoy como la Payman, se me ha perdido el puto seso, la verga. Mucha puta mierda, güey. Abogados. Casos. Ay, misión. Chinga tu madre, güey. ¿Qué tesis ni qué la chingada? Vámonos a la verga. Esto no es. ¡Chinga tu madre! ¡No! ¡Ay, no! ¡Qué bueno! Ya me está cagando. Ya, esta puta misión está de la verga.
Something happened.
Did they have no further trouble from then on? Yes, of course. Has a merchant by the name of Crossell asked you to put him in contact?
Crossell? Yes, I remember him. He's a merchant from Snezhnaya, no? The design of the hairpins that he gave me was quite intricate, so it took me some work to find someone who was up to the job. Eventually, I found this order was on hold for a very long time.
Doesn't seem like there's any evidence to be found.
Miss Sinxie, I'd like for you to confirm for me once more. When Mr. Crossell commissioned you to find him a jewelsmith?
Yes, I'm sure of it. The hairpins were made using Mr. Crossell wasn't very familiar with the necessary procedures, so I also kept a copy for my own records. See for yourself. The item is called Smaragdus Jadeite Twin Phoenix. The inlaid gemstone is recorded as Smaragdus Jadeite.
Thank you, Sinxie. Now...
Sure. It isn't serving much purpose here anyway. I take it...
Nothing you need to worry about. Just a minor issue. I'll return your document and...
Why is everyone's first reaction always to assume someone or something is in trouble?
I believe we have almost all the evidence we need. We just need to make one last trip.
The weirdo with the snake around his neck? What do you...
Because only he can provide an authoritative statement confirming that Smaragdus Jadeite is... Once we have this final piece of evidence and...
Ay, pinche cielo. Gracias a los adeptos. Vámonos, putiza. Ahora que me acuerdo. ¿Qué pedo? Bien poquitas moras. A ver. ¿Las moras? Pues, ¿cuánto me cobró? 3. 3, 6. Güey, tenía 2. Para la verga. Se nos está acabando el varo.
I can't read what this says.
Y la Yum Yum se fue a la mierda. Ah, este puto vende cosas, sí es cierto. Ah, pero no.
To what do I owe the pleasure? Though I'm afraid that if you're looking for our little Chi-Chi,
Ah,
she's out
pues eso vine,
gathering
güey.
herbs.
Bueno, no, yo fui a eso. Esos pinches chamacos quieren puta madre.
And if it isn't Miss Yanfei as well, now that's an even rarer honor. What business brings you here, might I inquire?
No. I'm here this time to ask if you're familiar with Smaragdus Jadeite.
Smaragdus Jadeite? Why, yes, there is some information about it included in the 6th commentary on the Seven Mountain Treatises states that this substance springs forth from stone marrow within the mountain. It is abundant in elemental energy, so if someone without a vision is in contact with it for a prolonged period, best case scenario, they fall ill. Anyway, I'm sure you didn't come all this knowing you, Yanfei, and I suppose that you're about to ask me to write an official affidavit
That is indeed the case. If you would be...
No trouble at all. It's just a single document. Won't take me a moment. I would mention, though, that you are not the only one who's developed a curiosity for Smaragdus Jadeite recently. But after I gave him my reply, his expression shifted to one of remarkable disappointment. I wonder, Miss Yanfei, if you're pressing business...
you needn't concern yourself about that, Dr. Baizhu. Thank you for...
You're too kind. Take care now.
That Baizhu guy is as weird as ever. Is it just Paimon, or does it feel like he was fishing for something back there?
Dr. Baiju's always been like that. Well, we have the evidence we need. Let's go find Mr. Crossel.
Vamos, hijo de la verga. Este güey tenía cosas. Ay, güey. Eso se consigue fácil. Vete, torcimos, pinche tranza.
Miss Yanfei, have you finished your investigation? I trust you will now be in a position to assess the compensation due.
Yes, my investigation is indeed concluded. I can now provide a final figure for the amount payable.
Wonderful. Well then, please, could you do the honors, Miss Yanfei?
Of course. According to the stipulations of the contract, Mr. Crossel, you must pay Mr. Chow 10 times the original transaction price in Mora.
Sure. Wait, what? Me pay her? Surely there's been some kind of mistake, Miss Yanfei.
Not at all. According to my investigations and the material evidence that we've gathered, the substance claimed to be Smaragdus Jadeite that was inlaid within the Smaragdus Jadeite twin phoenix pins that you rented out to Mr. Chow was, in fact, Smaragdus Nephrite. Now, the contract states very clearly that 10 times the price shall be paid should the article not be genuine. Accordingly, you are liable for this sum, which is payable to Mr. Chow in Mora.
Material evidence? What material evidence? Why, Miss Yanfei, you cannot frame me like this. I spent a huge sum to obtain that Smaragdus Jadeite, and yet you claim that the ore inlaid on the hairpins is somehow fake? I demand—
Indeed. Only a testimony from an expert witness involved in the processing of the ore can serve as an authoritative assessment of whether it is This is a processing record from the Jade Mystery, along—
Seriously? Even the boss there couldn't differentiate between Smaragdus Jadeite and Smaragdus— In any case, Smaragdus Nephrite is the outer layer of Smaragdus Jadeite. So I had him cut away the nephrite, he returned the valuable jadeite core to me, and some nephrite—
That's an unsubstantiated belief.
Well, your claim that my ore is fake is just as unsubstantiated. And we are here—
Looks like our first piece of evidence didn't convince him at all.
Hard evidence, something legally binding. We have just the thing. Show him, Traveler. Oh, come on. I meant the backup copy of the document from the Ministry of Civil Affairs. The one we got from Sinxi of me.
Pues ¿por qué me
This document
preguntas,
proves that my hairpins are the real deal, doesn't it? This is the Ministry's seal, after all. It shows that the ore inlaid on the pins is indeed Smaragdus jadeite.
Our second piece of evidence didn't work either. And it...
You know, you could be right. Perhaps the hairpin...
Of course I'm right. All the evidence shown support...
Well, hang on a moment now, because I do recall one final piece of evidence that we have. Traveler, would you do the honors? This shall serve...
What's this?
Smaragdus jadeite springs forth from stone marrow within the mountains and will bring disaster to any mere mortals who touch it. Sustained contact with Smaragdus jadeite over a prolonged period will, in less serious cases, cause a mild mouth. Mr. Crossell, were you aware of these peculiar... No idea, you say? I'd guessed as much. I'm afraid that this falls outside the scope of my work, but within that of the... However, I'm sure that the Ministry will be relatively lenient considering that... Don't worry, Mr. Crossell. I will make sure that all the evidence presented... I trust that you'll give them your full cooperation in their...
What? Wait!
Oh, so you knew? Oh, dear, Mr. Crossell. But if you knew...
Huh? No, I...
Aren't actually inlaid with genuine Smaragdus jadeite? You do understand, Mr. Crossell, that this means that you will have to pay Ms. Zerchow 10 times the original price in Mora? Mr. Crossell, your answer, please. My client and I are waiting.
Yep, he's seriously intimidating right now. It's like she's a different person.
I admit it. I confess. The ore I had inlaid on... But I'm a victim in all of this, too. I invested a great deal of time and money into acquiring that small amount, but after receiving it and carrying it around for a few days, I started to feel extreme discomfort. I couldn't sleep. I went to Boo Boo Pharmacy to get myself checked out, only to discover that this sort of stone cannot be worn as jewelry. But how? That's why I had another pair of hairpins made from Smaragdus nephrite, which is almost indistinguishable from Smaragdus jade. I kept the real Smaragdus jadeite in a specially made box. I daren't touch it again. I was worried that someone would see through it, which is why I only dared to rent them out, not sell them. And then to top it all off, Zhiqiao lost the hairpins after I rented them out to her.
Exactly! If they weren't the real deal, why'd you make her...
I didn't want to either, but when I purchased that Smaragdus jadeite, some of my business partners found out. I knew they'd be watching closely to see how much I could make off it. If word got out that I sold a pair of fake hairpins, then my days in this line of business would be over.
All right, let's cut the appeals phase right there. I failed to see what bearing any of this has on your transaction with my client. According to...
10 times?
Crossell looks like he could faint any second.
As for me, according to my contract with Ms. Zerchow, 20% of that sum will go...
20%? That's as much as I spent on that Smaragdus jadeite.
There's no need. It's fine. You don't... Even if the Smaragdus jadeite on those hairpins was fake, I still bear responsibility for losing them. Legally or not... However, Mr. Crossell, since you have no use for that chunk of Smaragdus jadeite, why don't you give it to me?
What? But all right, then. This cursed rock's
Miss Yunfei, I'll turn this Smaragdus jadeite over to you.
Well, that's not quite how the rules say this should go.
Thanks so much for your help this time, Miss Yunfei. When you have the time, I'll be...
Oh, come on. No need to stand on ceremony. Now, if I may confirm this again...
Well
then, that's good. Mr. Crossell, it seems that my client has no further claims against...
Is that...
Actually, Mr. Crossell, I'd like to talk... I could see from the hairpins you produce that you're very skilled in jewelry design. My family, on the other hand, if we could join forces, your jewelry designs and our choice ores...
Well, that's that. And we've got the Smaragdus jadeite that Granny wants too. All's well that ends well, eh?
Exactly. Usually when someone tells us they've lost something, We end up searching all over the place for it. But this time, even though the solution didn't involve action...
The right solution depends on your perspective on... The objective of my client, Mr. Chow, was to reduce her liability to pay an Adeptus. Speaking of, you took part in that battle, didn't you? In which case, you would have... Liyue Harbor is now a city ruled by humans. The title of Adeptus means precious little to me compared to my job as a legal advisor. In any case, don't you think that the Liyue Harbor of today needs
Paimon can think of someone who would definitely disagree with your reasoning.
Well, since we got what we came for, it's time to pay Granny a visit. I bet she's been on tenterhooks for a while.
Madame Butterfly. No más ese drift, hijo de su puta madre. Mira nomás, mira nomás. Mira nomás. Ah, huevo, chicas. Pinches controles desechables, cabrón. Esa pinche en Yangshan les debería caer a los de Sony. Meterles una pinche demanda.
Ah, you've returned. How did it go? Were you able to find the Smaragdus Jadeite? Good, good. Then we have all...
Well, if we're all set, Granny, I'll get going now. Got a ton of clients waiting for me back at the office.
Oh, you? All right, then. Go see to your business.
I'm off then. Bye! Oh, yes, Traveler. Make sure you don't lose the business. I've been looking into the laws of other nations as well. If you should ever bump into any trouble with the law, come find me directly.
Come now, child. Are you leaving or are you not? If you have no wish to leave...
I'm leaving! I'm leaving!
That child. Goodness knows where she learned to be so rambunctious. Her father was hard. Indeed she is. Liyue's chain Yanfei might be overly garrulous, but she is also the most intimately acquainted. Liyue is not the same place I once knew. All right, then. Let us speak of this no more.
Oh, Paimon's so excited! How is it made?
It is but a single teapot. It shall...
There
we go. This Serenity pot is
con
all
chela,
yours
güey.
now.
Con cacardí. Pichi kraken, chingue su madre.
Hold it firmly. If you were to drop it, oh goodness, who knows what might happen. Take these blueprints with you as well. You'll need them if you wish to make your teapot a little more lively inside.
Wait a minute, Granny! How exactly are we supposed to use this teapot?
Oh, you needn't worry about that. I've already arranged for a certain little helper to await you.
No mames. Vamos a ese pendejo. Chinga tu madre, puto juego, vete a la vida. La cima de su puta madre, o no sé qué era la cima. La cima, la cima. ¿No? La cima antes de la tormenta, sí la vi. Te vi esa puta misión. Oh, creo que ya es la puta principal, ¿no? Sí, aquí está. No, esto no es. No, mejor dicho, es esta, qué pendejo. No, pues ya va a ser otro día, porque no mames. Antes de irme a la burger, necesito matar a este pendejo. ¿Dónde está? Ahí está. ¡Y no me alcanzo! Tengo 33. ¡Ah, puta madre!
I'll catch up. Someone needs assistance.
Oh, esa pendeja.
There you are. I'll catch up. Let me amuse myself a little. Someone needs assistance. Assistance. Shine no longer.
Necesito ese pendejo también.
Steady as stone. I'll catch up.
¿Por qué terminé yéndome hasta allá? Ah, porque quería matar a ese pendejo, sí, sí. Agarro ese cofre y ya hasta ahí llego. Oh, manos, así ya estoy dando el culo. Ahí está.
Ooh, wonderful. Someone needs assistance.
Aquí nos paramos. Ay, no. Ah, aquí está lo del puto nivel del mundo. Ok.
Whenever
Para
you need me,
agilizar
I'll
el
be
pedo.
there.
Iré, ya me iba a seguir. Es para agilizar el pedo, ¿no? Está chido eso, güey. Ah, algo que quería checar.
Oh dear, everyone's laundry is still on the line. May I be excused to fetch it in?
Ah, pendejo. Y misión principal, o sea, nunca vi que me dieran una de misión principal. Nunca vi que me dieran uno. En la tienda de recuerdos conseguí 2 y luego que fueron 2. No sé qué pedo ahí. Putos. Quítense. Por ejemplo, esta le compré los 2 que tenía. Cosa que al llegar allá está agotado. Compré los 2. Acá me dieron 2 y en misión principal no me dieron ni una sola.
Traveler, please, over here.
Ah, cabrón.
It has been a while since you joined the Adventurers Guild. Are your adventures going smoothly? Is that so? Apart from your own skills, another person to count on is always good after all. But recruiting such
Yep, and it's even harder to get a guide as...
Ah, yes. I do have some information. Let me consult our records. Ah, there it is. There's been a certain blonde stranger who...
Blonde. Dresses all funny. Wait! Do you mean... Does that stranger's face look any...
Like the honorary knights? No, they couldn't look more different.
Seriously? How does this have anything to do with Kaya?
That stranger declined the guild's invitation, so I can't say that I know him. Nonetheless, you can look for him if you're interested. Perhaps, after all, it is not uncommon for some adventurers to not want to be limited by the guild, and should the stranger be a strong adventurer indeed, he would certainly be a big help on your journey. Please don't talk down on yourself like that. Your deeds are the stuff of song for all the bards in the city, even now. Well, as to further news about him, you may want to ask Mr. Lawrence. He stands guard at the city gate, so he may know. I wish you every success.
Everyone can hear your voice.
Chingada madre.
Add Astra.
No, pinche
Add
madre.
Astra.
Ve, pues aquí ya no hay... Ah, no mames. Por sí, pero que no digan mamadas, o sea, nunca me dieron nada en misión principal. Puta madre.
Honorary knight. Is something the matter? A stranger with an eye patch. Let me think. He was wandering all over Mondstadt at first, which I found rather suspicious. I lost him pretty quickly. Still, I didn't think that this was such a huge matter that as long as Master Jean is here, there's nothing to fear from some suspicious
That might be true, but if it were up to Jean, she'd take this with.
That is true. But on the other hand, knowing that Master Jean may overreact... Anyways, oh yeah, he was at Wagner's smithy for a while. You should go ask him.
¿Cómo me hago pendejo, carajo? Aquí en la verga. 1:46, güey. No dice aquí mi... No. Dice las 7 putas horas. Y eso estoy ya cerrándolo a las 10. Como las 10, ¿sí? 7 horitas, güey. Está bien. Genshin Impact. Me falta menos para platino. No, que falta menos. Chingo. ¿Este qué es? Ok, esa ya sé cuál es. Espina Dragon. De veras. Así mejora la hora de... A ver, ¿este qué es? Explorador continuidad. Isla. Está raro. Pero ahí va. Padrísimo. Juegazo.